Hello, this is Paul Bergin of the Mars Hill blog, which you will find at www.paulbergin, that's paulburgin.blogspot.co.uk. I'm continuing a series of vlogs of political heroes of mine who I think helped change society for the better. And today I'm going to be talking about John Smith, who was leader of the Labour Party from 1992 until his death in 1994. He was born in 1938 in Scotland. He studied at Glasgow University initially. Contemporaries of his included Sir Min Campbell, Derry Irving, Lord Irving, the Lord Chancellor under Blair's government, and Donald Dewar, later the First Minister for Scotland. He stood for East Fife in the by-election of 1961, which he failed to get, but was eventually elected as a Labour MP in 1970, and with some boundary changes, etc., he eventually represented Monklands until time of his death. He was initially seen as pretty much on the right of the Labour Party, on the strong moderate wing. He joined the 69 rebels led by Roy Jenkins, interfering with the government for Britain joining the EC in 1971, and he nearly didn't get a post in the Wilson government of 74 to 76. He turned down one job offer from Wilson, but he eventually became Parliamentary Under Secretary at the Department of Energy, then Energy Minister, where he ended up working for Tony Benn. At one point, Bernard Ingham, who later became well known for being Margaret Thatcher's press secretary, was Tony Benn's press secretary, and unsurprisingly Ingham and Benn didn't exactly get on. At one stage, Ingham went to John Smith, who obviously was Benn's number 2 at the Department of Energy, and he asked, "How do I deal with him?" And Smith said, "Pick a fight with him, pick a row. Wedgie hates rows." A few months after Callaghan became leader, he got the prestigious non-cabinet role of devolution minister. He was responsible for bringing the devolution bill over Scotland and Wales through the Commons. And then in late 1978, when Edmund Dale resigned as Trade Secretary, he joined the cabinet as Secretary of State for Trade, and was pretty much involved in the last months of the Labour government, although not long enough to make a mark in any way. He remained in opposition pretty much on the right of the party, but he perhaps wasn't as high profile as, say, Gerald Kaufman or Roy Hattersley or Dennis Healey, and he had lost some respect for Roy Jenkins over different approaches and style that and in any case his own tribal background meant there was no way he would have joined the SDP. In the 80s he held, under Callaghan and Fertling Kinnock, he held a variety of shadow portfolios from trade, energy, employment, trade and industry, before becoming Shadow Chancellor in 1987. He made a strong mark as Shadow Chancellor in spite of the first major heart attack he had, which very nearly killed him in 1988, and he engaged in a vigorous exercise regime of trying to climb as many mountains on the Munros as possible. But he did make a strong mark as Shadow Chancellor. He was very good at demolishing Nigel Lawson and then John Major, and he played a pivotal role in the 92 election campaign. But his strong belief that as a country your contribution as a citizen of the country and you pay your way, perhaps didn't chime well with the electorate with the economic policies he put in 92 at that time. But he had sufficient respect and commanded sufficient power within the Labour Party, even never been on the NEC, that he was elected almost overwhelmingly as leader in 92 in a way that no other Labour candidate before since has had. Not even Tony Blair or Jeremy Corbyn perhaps got the amount of percentage of votes that John Smith got in 1992. He showed himself to be a strong, tough and capable leader in the two years between being elected leader until his tragic death. He remorselessly hounded the government at the dispatch box. He helped change the Labour Party on a steady-as-she-goes course, on changing the voting system to one member, one vote, for which he used John Prescott's support, and he harried the government over Maastricht. In the run-up in early May 1994, in the run-up to the European elections, Labour did devastatingly well in the council elections up and down the country in a way it hadn't for years. And Smith was at the height of his political powers, but tragically he had a second heart attack and died shortly afterwards, on a week after those council elections. The night before he died, he gave a speech in which his last words were, "The opportunity to govern, that is all we ask," or words to that effect. Like Hugh Gaitskell, it is arguable that he would have become Prime Minister at the next general election had he lived. But whilst it would be argued perhaps he might not have done so well as Blair in 97, I disagree strongly with some Blairites who say that Smith would not have taken Labour to victory in 97. I believe he would. The evidence in the by-election results and in the local election results, particularly the local election results in the last week of Smith's life, show that Labour very likely would have won. Whether they would have had the landslide that they had is, I think that is where it's more a matter of debate, but I'm convinced Smith would have been Prime Minister. Where I think I hold him in high regard was his sense of humour, his wit without malice, his way of holding the Labour Party together, his way of sticking to his true principles but inspiring loyalty, a sort of loyalty that neither perhaps Blair or Corbyn ever inspired throughout the breadth of the Labour Party. In spite of some criticisms, he managed to hold loyalty in a certain way. Where I think he helped change society for the better? Through holding that party together, helping to prepare groundwork for Blair, such as one member, one vote. He knew how to work with the left. He knew how to play the left if he disagreed with them that strongly. He also was involved in the votes to get Britain to join the EC, which I think, there'll be some revisionists with Brexit, but I do think did change Britain for the better. He also harried the government on key issues at that time and basically helped prepare the ground for Labour's victory in 97, and that is why I think he helped change society for the better. And he inspired respect. When he died, John Major said, "It's common for opposition leaders to pay tribute, but it really came from the heart, and you could sense it when John Major said, 'When I look at John Smith, I saw an opponent, not an enemy.'" And he saw John Smith as a friend. That is one of the highest tributes you could give to a political leader, where his opposition rival would say such a thing. And that is why I think I hold John Smith in such regard.